In 2008, I was recruiting musicians for the Shanghai music venue, the Blues Room, which I was managing at that time. And someone recommended Carlton J. Smith to me, so immediately I ran down to the House of Blues and Jazz and checked his performance out. And I was really blown away. I mean, he had this great stage presence and it was such an energetic show. But what happened that after his first set, he ran up to his dressing room and I followed him up there. And it's so funny to think back now because we go way back and we had a wonderful working relationship. But actually Carlton's first words were kind of angry to me. He was sweating and he was catching his breath after his performance, and he in disbelief that I was there, he just looked at me and he said, "So you think you can just come up here like that?" His performance at the Blues Room never really materialized because the venue was kind of too small for him. He really is this larger-than-life character. But from then on we became friends and I started to shoot his portraits and we started to work together frequently. Back then, I was building up my Shanghai musicians portfolio, and I love working with all musicians in Shanghai, but of course I had my favorites. There were like 3-4 musicians who were there from the beginning for me, and they were kind of the foundation to my portfolio. So they were always dear to me, and I used to call these musicians my Lucky Charm musicians, and Carlton was certainly one of them. From the very beginning, he inspired my photography endlessly with his crazy, mind-blowingly colorful wardrobe, and it was really the variety of the costume that took the photos to another level. And also, of course, his tireless energy. I mean, anyone who's seen Carlton performing knows that nobody's really safe in the audience. I mean, he's gonna pick people out, he's gonna bring them on stage, he's gonna talk to them. And it was pretty much the same with the shoots when we went out. I mean, I remember this one occasion when we were out shooting and there was this bus at the red light, and somebody was sleeping inside the bus, and he ran up there and banged on the window, and the person woke up, and I think I took a shot of that. It was so funny, and so something was always happening, and it was the most fun to go out with him to shoot, and I miss these occasions to this very day. It was total madness. I mean, he always brought somebody into the frame, he lifts somebody up and stopped pedestrians and stuff like that. Something was always happening, and that's what I loved about these shoots. That's why it was so inspiring, and that's why it was a goldmine for photography. And beyond all that, I recognized some similarities between us. In the first part of my life, I was really into music, and although I was never a musician, but music was leading my life, and I was collecting so much stuff from magazines through albums and posters and all that kind of stuff, and it was the same with Carlton. If I looked at him, I mean, he was a really good musician, a great singer, but he was also, beyond that, he was a fan of music, a huge fan of music. He met all the greats, from Michael Jackson to James Brown and so many other musicians. And one of the things he did, which I really admired, was that he had these posters. He had a collection of old posters from the 70s and the 80s of his favorite musicians from New York and all that. And he collected these, and what he did a show out of that. I think what he did, he exhibited the posters at the show, and he was talking about them and playing songs from these performers, which I thought was an absolutely genius, such a good idea. So it was like a combination of being a good musician and being a fan of music. And he asked me to do the intro for that. I had a chance to visit his New York apartment once, and I think it was on the Upper West Side. And when I entered, I was shocked because I opened the door and there were just vinyls and albums and posters, and there were only music memorabilia. It was unbelievable. Although Carlton was a very well-known face of the Shanghai music scene, he was kind of his own island out there, and he wasn't part of those Shanghai musician communities that kind of segregated the music scene. He didn't belong to the Jay-Z club, he didn't belong to the Melting Pot, he didn't belong to the Cotton Club. He was out there on his own from the very beginning, I think from the early 2000s or maybe even earlier, cutting his own path and constantly gigging. And I think he was the only representative of R&B and soul in the city, but I could be wrong. But I think he was the only serious representative of that, playing in places like the House of Blues and Jazz and other prestigious venues around Shintiandi. We worked together on and off for about 5 years. He would call me up spontaneously and say, "Oh, Nicky, I need a new poster, I need a new cover or a new video." So we would just go out and shoot it in the streets of Shanghai and have fun again. And of course I have my favorites. It's hard to choose, but if I had to pick one, and I think Carlton would agree on me with this, it's the one where he turns his back to the camera in a red suit. That photo actually was inspired by An Enemy, a New Musical Express cover from 1975 with David Bowie on the cover, and the headline says "Bowie's back." It's one of my favorite covers, and it was definitely inspired by that. The photo was actually taken on the day Michael Jackson died, or pretty close to it. It could be the day after, but I remember we were talking about it at that day. And yeah, so it was kind of symbolic, and it was out on billboards in Bali Island, which was amazing. It's kind of hard to separate the image of Carlton from his colorful wardrobe and his costumes. And I remember once he told me, which I really loved, that Nicky, you have to respect the stage. When you go on stage, you have to give respect, and that's why I'm wearing all these clothes. And it kind of clicked with me, because I'm coming from this David Bowie and The Cure and all these theatrical band's background, so I couldn't help but agree with him. One of my regrets with him that I never accompanied him to the fabric market where he got his clothes made. That could have been a really good video now, especially for this. But it's really good to remember all these shots when I go through them, especially now. And I would love to work with you again, Carlton, anywhere, anytime. I hope it happens one day. What's really special about this episode that is here with me, with us, and let's see how he remembers these times.